Welcome to the University of Holy Cross Business and Tax Updates. I'm Lillian Gross, Assistant Professor of Accounting at Holy Cross. Today we're going to talk about the CARES Act payments. These payments are $1,200 per individual. For single and head of household taxpayers, it's $1,200. Joint taxpayers, because there's two, is $2,400. And you'll also receive an additional $500 for each dependent child under the age of 17. These payments are based on adjusted gross income and will be adjusted. Who will receive payments and how will they be received? Well, if you filed a tax return for 2019, payments will be based on that one. If not, it will go back to your 2018 tax return. When will the payments be made? Depends on whether you've received direct deposit or paper checks. The important thing is, did you give IRS access to your account number and your routing number? If they have that information, you'll receive direct deposit payment in about 3 weeks, anytime between this week and the end of April. For paper checks, or if they don't have your information, those checks will be going out weekly in batches, and the last of those should go out by August. Now, who will not receive payments? Anyone over the age of 17 who is a dependent on someone else's tax return will not receive a $500 payment. And all the payments are based on adjusted gross income. Those payments can be phased out. For example, a single taxpayer amount they should receive is $1,200 if their adjusted gross income is below $75,000. Now, above $75,000, those payments will be phased out completely at $99,000. For head of household, the adjusted gross income is $112,000, $500, with a phase out at $136,500. Married filing joint taxpayers will receive the $2,400 and adjusted gross income up to $150,000, and above that it will phase out at $198,000. Now notice I say that's if they have no dependents. Those numbers will be adjusted if there are other dependents on the tax return. Now, what happens if you didn't file a tax return? If you didn't file for 2019, it's not a problem. They will use your 2018 tax return to base those numbers on. Now, if you receive Social Security or railroad retirement and you weren't required to file a tax return, those payments will be automatically generated for you. Now, the payments will not be made for any dependents, and we're going to receive guidance in the future about how you'll receive those additional payments. If you did not file a tax return for either 2018 or 2019 and you're required to file a tax return, you should do that as soon as possible. I've given you a website here on irs.gov. There's no charge for that. File that as soon as possible to get your care payments started. Now, what happens if you weren't required to file a tax return for any of those years? Your income was too low. IRS is still working that out, and once we get additional information on that, we'll pass that along. You are going to have to do something to get those payments, but we just don't know what that is quite yet. If your income is different for 2020 and the year that the payments are based on, either 2018 or 2019, there may be some adjustment to your payment. If in let's say in 2019, your income was over, you were single, and your income was over $75,000, you may have received a lesser amount than the $1,200. If at the end of 2020, your income is below the $75,000, you'd be entitled to the $1,200, and they will adjust that on your 2020 tax return. If you, on the other hand, were overpaid, at this time they're telling us there will be no adjustments for overpayments. Here's some helpful websites if you're curious. Here's a payment calculator from the Washington Post. There's several on the internet. You can try any of those. If you think your amount's going to be below the $1,200 amount, you can key this in and check it out. It should give you a good idea of what your payment should be. If you need more information, our Internal Revenue has a coronavirus related information, and here's their website. And also, if you need to do some tax filing on your own, there's a free filing also on the IRS website. Now, we're going to be getting comments and questions in the future If you have anything you want to know about this, send us your information and your questions or at biz and tax updates at uhcno.edu. We'll be posting that information on uhcno.edu, and we'll also give you updates and additional presentations. In the meantime, send us your information. Let us know what you'd like to know about for the future, and check our website for more information. Stay healthy, stay safe. Till next time. This is Lillian Gross.